Welcome. My guest today is responsible for turning TikTok superstars into global sensations, distributing music all over the world. And I'm not talking about Santa Claus, unfortunately. I'm talking about Wendy from Ditto.
Hey, Charlene.
Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm quite nervous, you're an African giant, so I'm trying to compose myself. But thank you so much for gracing us here. For the viewers that don't know exactly what Ditto's about and what you do you care to just explain in layman terms?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I work in label services for Ditto Music. We're a distributor. So when you go and you upload your music onto Ditto as a musician, Ditto helps get your music onto all of the stores, Spotify, Apple, etc. And what I do is I add a layer of service to African artists that is like a label, but it's turned on its head, right? Because I don't own the masters. Our artists keep their masters, and we provide them with label services such as pitching, collection of neighboring rights, assistance with their marketing rollout plans for best practices in the music industry, essentially helping them to release and promote their music in the same way that major labels do, and that a plan rolls out that just activates in the marketplace in the way that they envision. Awesome.
So for a SoundCloud artist, it's not just about putting the music out there?
Definitely not. I mean, so think about it that way. You are putting your music out on SoundCloud. It's only everybody that is on SoundCloud that has access to your music, right? What if SoundCloud is not available in a country? What if somebody doesn't know about SoundCloud? Your biggest fan could be someone who only listens to music on AudioMac, and your biggest audience is very definitely on either Apple or Spotify. Your biggest champion could be in the US listening to music on Amazon Prime.
You hear that, guys? So it's not just SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music. It's so much more out there. So you need to make sure that you sign up with Ditto. Might be an advertisement, might not be. But yeah, I read somewhere that you worked with Imagine Dragons. Is it true?
Yeah, that was back when I was at Universal, and we released all of their albums from the very first record, from the very first single that came across my desk, took off at radio, and then I eventually left Universal Music, but ended up taking my son to the concert because they wound up being his favorite band a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Wow. How was that, like seeing them after working with them for such a long time?
Absolutely incredible. I mean, they just put on this immense live show. It's so engaging. I think for any artist, it's so valuable to go and watch other shows to see what other artists are doing, how they're keeping a crowd engaged, because at the end of the day, music is entertainment as much as it is art. So to be a successful artist, you must be putting out work that you're proud of, but also engaging your audience.
Wow, that's amazing. It's pretty hot. I need to drink some water. Speaking of water, Tyler. You guys worked with Tyler, did you not?
So we worked with Tyler Page. Tyler Page is currently with a label that we continue to work with. And which Tyler are we talking about? There are a couple,
but currently the most famous one.
The most famous one is not via us, unfortunately. But that's such an interesting story. How a viral moment can just propel you into success. But the thing is that there's no overnight success. If you have all of your music prepared, if you have a body of work that is ready to go, and you are working your social media platforms, anything can go at any moment. You need to have a team behind you that sees your vision, a champion, whether you're a developing artist or a big artist. Make sure that you've got people around you who get it, who get where you're going.
Who believe in what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's great. And Pretty Ugly recently dropped.
His final record.
Yeah.
That came out today. So today is the 26th of January. In case you're seeing this afterwards, Pretty Ugly has released his final record. It's the third in a series of records, and it's titled Dust. It's definitely the most gut-wrenching, heart-on-sleeve record that Pretty Ugly has ever put out.
Really?
So I'm quite sad that it's his final record, but I'm sure that this is not the end of him in the music industry, for sure.
Yeah, because it's just one of those prominent dudes. Like, a lot of rappers look up to him.
Yeah.
Especially, like when someone is considered very hard.
Yes.
Raps about love and like just the heartwarming, gooey stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear. It's a different sound. It's very interesting.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that the culture of hip hop doesn't really allow a man to talk about his feelings, unless they're like hardcore feelings,
Yeah.
And I suppose there is a lot of that real life hardcore stuff in Pretty's record, but there is also my favorite song on the record, No Plans, which does talk about the love he has for his wife, and you know what? That's okay. He has a happy life. He may have had a hard life at some point, and it's okay to say that you're grateful for being blessed in this life.
Yeah, that's true. So for all our rappers out there, you don't really have to be hard all the time. It's okay to show some emotion. You're still a man. Don't worry. I hear that you've worked with Blackie as well.
So Blackie is actually another one of the main artists on the single on Pretty's record. It's the focus track. It's called Mosha. So that has that's the track that's been playlisted all over Apple and Spotify and all the other DSPs or streaming platforms that I've spoken about. That's the focus track. Pretty Ugly, K-Kid, and Blackie are on that song together. And I mean, I hear that Blackie is performing here in Harare tomorrow.
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's his first time performing in Harare.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, are you gonna go? Do you want to go?
I do want to go, and I think I might be lucky enough to.
Ah, awesome. So yeah, we may not include the highlights from the show. If we go, you guys will probably see it in the video when it drops. But yeah, besides that, one of the main questions that I really wanted to ask you is Africa and Zim in particular has one of the most expensive internet access in the world. Zim data is pretty expensive. So if an artist is to, let's say, make or break using streaming platforms, but then there's this challenge of data and Wi-Fi, is there like a way to combat that? Or
yes. Internet access is a barrier to entry in many African markets, but it's changing. It's one of those things that has been it's been growing steadily. The adoption of and the use of platforms and services online, and telcos that have high pricing can't hang on to that high pricing forever. I mean, I can only speak from a South African perspective, in the fact that I live there and data prices have been steadily reducing. I know that across the rest of Africa, there are many places where data remains expensive, but it can't stay like that forever. As companies lay fiber, as Elon Musk gets Starlink into more African countries, the opportunities for cheaper access will increase. There is no mistaking it. The world economies are being driven by online marketplaces. If you had a shop in the past, and you in the US, and you're now selling your products online, and in some ways, we are quite lucky to be here in Africa, where we can see what the trends are worldwide, and see where things are going, and know that that's eventually going to happen here. Might take a while. We're pretty used to that. But there's no mistaking the fact that getting your music out and online serves it to a world audience rather than just a Zimbabwean audience. And that's how you grow as an artist. That's how you make sure that anyone, anywhere is able to access your music.
That's great. So I hope to our listeners out there there is hope. You just need to keep pushing, keep producing content. I was fortunate enough to hear one of your talks today. You mentioned that a colleague of yours, quote unquote, if I misquote you, I'm sorry, but the colleague mentioned that if you ever want to go viral on TikTok, the secret formula is to post 3 times a day for 6 months consistently. And then also, if you want to make content, if you want to get paid by TikTok, you need to make content. Can you talk more about that content?
Yes, absolutely. So the thing with TikTok, right, is that it's an algorithmically driven platform. And the more you post, the more accounts you're going to reach. Now, that's normal, right? Mm-hmm. The more you post on any social media platform, the more people like it, the more people see it. And, you know, if you're posting like something that is shareable, the more people share it. Mm-hmm. But on TikTok, it's kind of like everything, that the ante is up. It's everything. It's going from volumes at 5, we're turning it to 12. Mm-hmm. So I think in the early days, to compare it, the early days of Instagram, we were posting anything on Instagram. We didn't care about having a carefully curated, beautiful feed.
True.
And that's what TikTok is now, right? Mm-hmm. TikTok is the hungry hippo. So the more you post, the more the algorithm realizes that you are posting, and this account can be relied on for content. Mm-hmm. As part of you posting, you get wider engagement because people like your content. Hopefully you are looking at what works and what doesn't work, and then kind of curating your future content to be more like what worked in the past. Mm. And if you're an artist and you just keep on doing that, it is a lot of work, yes. But if you just keep on doing that consistently, then the point is consistently. You carry on doing it. You can reach hundreds of thousands of followers in less than a year. And I think what's important is to make it something that's doable. Make it about your music, but not just about your music, because, the reason why people are watching TikTok is for entertainment. So bring it back to you being on stage. If you've got thoughts, funny things, music, melodies, it doesn't have to be a song that you share. People want an insight into your daily life. And some part of your personality is going to resonate. And you just need to keep on working at that and finding the things that resonate with a crowd on TikTok, mm-hmm. and keep doing more of that to find an audience on TikTok.
Wonderful, wonderful. So my last question, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. My last question is, so Terminal 1, I curate playlists, but they're not mainstream artists, right?
Excellent.
So most of them don't have a lot of plays on Spotify, and even on their Instagram, they don't have a large following. But then most of them, if not all of them, are more talented than the current mainstream artists. Is there a way to combat that, for them to at least get on Ditto's platform or get playlisted by Ditto, or like get picked up by other recording agencies?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that the best way to get onto Ditto's playlist, because we have a number of owned playlists, mm-hmm. where we playlist artists that are distributed by Ditto, is just head over to your computer and Google Ditto Spotify playlists, and a blog article will come up about how to submit to our playlists. And there are a number of different playlists depending on the music that you've made. So like there's Ditto Coffee for the more acoustic sound. Mm-hmm. There's African Glow, which is a playlist that we curate from our Ditto artists that are based in Africa or from the diaspora. And we listen to those tracks, and we used to do a playlist upload every week, and we kind of got a little bit slower at that, but it's going to be back up to every week pretty soon. Mm-hmm. There are playlists that are for Spanish music. There are, obviously not for this audience, but there are a ton of different playlists. So it depends on the music you make. Mm-hmm. And as really, really talented artists that aren't part of the mainstream, the best advice that I can give to artists is to create your own scene. You're clearly doing that with Terminal's playlists. So you're already creating a scene of artists that kind of fit together on a playlist that are part of a similar vibe. One of the best ways to gain a bigger audience is to collaborate. You know, when artists get in studio together, or when they record their bit and send it over to another artist and another one mixes it, and, you know, you should all belong on the name of that track or the artist behind that track. And if you guys are releasing that together with all of your names as primary artists, it'll hit all three of your collective fan bases on Spotify. And if you're pitching that on the back end on Spotify for artists, it'll land in all three of your collective followers' release radar playlist on the Friday that it's released. So I think that collaboration is super important, and that stretches beyond the music industry. For example, when you're doing a photo shoot as an artist that's somewhat outside the mainstream, try to find other artists or creatives that are working in this economy in Harare.
Yeah.
That maybe that work in fashion or work in literature or work in the graphic arts. Get someone in the graphic arts to design your album cover. Maybe rather than just doing it yourself, a job on Photoshop. Try to collaborate with someone in fashion. Yeah, you've got to wear clothes in photo shoots.
Yeah.
So work together with someone and then credit them. We only rise if we all rise together. And the way to do that is to help each other. It doesn't matter if maybe someone's got less followers or more followers than you. I think that the most important, the most groundbreaking songs, the best songs, sometimes come from the most unexpected places.
That is true. That is true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. That was very insightful. Learned a lot. And I'm sure our viewers would like to know where they can find you on your socials in case they want to follow you.
At Wendy Verwey. My name is Wendy Verwey Bekker. It's hard to write and spell, but look for Wendy Ditto. You can probably Google Wendy Ditto. I am on socials. I am online on Facebook. It's mostly just family pics, but Twitter and Instagram is where the work and the interesting things live. It's been an absolute pleasure being here in Harare. I will go and follow your playlists as well, Terminal 1. I'm always keen on, the things that lie slightly left of center, and it's been an absolute pleasure being here with you, Boss Love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene.
You heard it, guys. Boss Love. Please do follow Ditto on Instagram, Facebook, and check out that playlist as well. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.